Hey everyone, and welcome to another video of What's a Nexus series, episode 2, where I'll be talking about the interface, everything on the screen and what it means. So here, starting at the top right, you have your total team kills versus the total enemy team kills. Every kill that you got on an enemy champion or any of your teammates, this number will increment by 1. Next is your personal scores. So this is your kills. The first number, how many kills you've gotten on an enemy champion. The second number is how many deaths you've had during this game. And the last one is how many kills on enemy champions that you assisted in, that your teammates actually ended up getting. Next one is minion kills, also commonly called CS. And what this is how many minions you killed in the game. So you'll see here, if I kill another minion, it went from 8 to 9. Finally, you have the time duration that the game has been running for. If you press Control F, you'll actually get to see the FPS, frames per second, and the ping. The ping is how much time it takes information to get from the league servers to you. Generally, the lower the better on ping levels. So next we have, if you press Tab, you get to see a lot of quick information about the game and its current state. At the very top, you have objective timers. This is blue buff, red buff on both sides. So this is the blue buff over here, and this is the red buff over here. Then we have Baron, Dragon, and its spawn timing. So if you kill the Baron over here, this will go to a number and you'll see how much longer it will take until the next one spawns. Same for Dragon. Next, on the top here, you have how many dragons your team has killed in these 4 dots and how many dragons the enemy team has killed in those 4 dots. So this goes up if you kill a dragon, this would be filled. I will talk about the different types of dragons and what they do in another video. And the center one is if you've got to 4 dragons, if you fill all 4 of these circles, you get the dragon's soul, and that gives your whole team a buff as well. Every dragon you get will do that. Then you have the numbers of objectives your team has taken and enemy team has taken. First one is how many dragons, next one is how many barons, the final one is how many towers, and then how many kills. This is the exact same mirrored on the other side. See, ours is 10 here because we've taken 10 towers. I think the minions just did that earlier. So that's it for that. Then we have all the champions on the roster. There'll be one filling every single one of these rectangles, even for the enemy team. It's just a bunch of quick information about what they are. It's like their summoner spells, their runes. The little green dot is whether or not you have your ultimate, character portrait, KDAs, the items, and so on and so forth. So you'll see this for every single champion. So it's just like quick to check. Also, some information is hidden on the enemy side. You won't be able to see their ultimate cooldowns. That's just for your teammates. And you won't be able to see the summoner spell cooldowns either for them, but you will for your own team. All right. So moving on, next on the bottom, we have the HUD where you see a bunch of information about your character. What is all of this? All right, so here you've got your champion info. You'll see very specific stats about your champion. And if you're playing casually, I wouldn't really worry too much about this, but it is cool. If you're curious about any of it, you can just hover over the stat and you'll see the little info box pop up. Next is your runes panel. This is what runes that you chose to take in the beginning of the game or before the game started. I'll go over runes in another video. Eternals panel doesn't have any effect on your gameplay whatsoever. It's just a cosmetic kind of thing. It just keeps track of certain stats for champion. You can hide this panel by just clicking whichever one is showing, and if you are playing casually, I would recommend doing that just to, free up space and distraction. Next, you have your character's portrait and your character's level. This number is the level that you have, and the purple bar next to it is the experience that you have. If you kill minions or champions, you will gain experience, and once the purple bar fills, you'll gain to the next level, and you'll get a point in an ability, which we'll talk about in just a moment. You hover over the purple bar, it shows you more precisely how much experience you have versus how much you need to gain to the next level. Above the HUD, you'll see any status effects that are on your character. So this one is perseverance. There's going to be tons and tons of different status effects. And so if you're curious about them, I would just hover over it. Perseverance, which is active because of my passive called perseverance. So, and energized, which I think is from one of my runes. So next you have your passive ability. This is something unique to every champion. And so is these next 4 ones. If you're curious about what they do, just hover over it and read it. But basically a passive is something, it's like kind of a special thing that always applies to your champion. The next 3 squares are your non-ultimate abilities. These are generally lower cooldown and just like do cool things. And then the bottom left, you'll see a letter, and if you press that letter, that will activate that ability. Every ability is going to do something different, so if you don't know what it does, just hover over it, and then you'll see what it does. The fourth one is your ultimate ability, assigned to the key R, and this is generally a higher cooldown ability that will be much more important and much more impactful. Very powerful. Below the abilities, you'll see these dots, and this is how many points that you've put into the abilities. That was what I had said earlier. When you level up, then you'll be able to put a point into one of these abilities. I'm going to simulate that right now with leveling up. So once you've leveled up, you'll see that you're able to put points into certain abilities, and the one that is recommended by the game will be highlighted, kind of glowing like that. If you hover over the up arrow, you'll see in the bottom right of this tooltip window how much damage increase that you'll get, and like basically what happens when you level up the. Next, you'll have your summoner spells that you chose before the game. Almost always you should have flash and then some other one. I will go over summoner spells in another video, but if you're curious about what they do, just hover over it and read what it does. So below that, you'll have your health bar. This is how much health you have, how much health you have currently versus how much health you have maximum. And then if you hover over it, you'll see a plus with another number, and that's how much health you're gaining per every 5 seconds, I believe. Below your health bar it's black here because Garen specifically doesn't have any resources. You'll see a resource bar. That will either be mana or energy or rage. I will go over all the different resources in another video, but basically in most cases, resources are tied to how you can use your abilities. So if you have mana, each ability is going to cost a certain amount of mana, and once you've ran out, you won't be able to cast anymore until you back. So to the right of that, you'll see all of your items. There's 6 slots for items. That's the maximum number of items you can have. Below it, you'll see gold, in which you can spend to buy more items. So by this one here, you'll see that the gold went down. On the bottom left, you'll see a number. What that number means is that if the item has an activatable effect, then you'll be able to use that activatable effect by pressing that number. So not all items have actives. If it doesn't have a highlighting thing around it, like this one has blue and this one has gold, then it doesn't have an active. But this one does have an active because it's highlighted. So you press 2 and that activates the ability. If you're curious about what the active ability does, you can hover over the item and read exactly what it does. Some actives are consumable. Now that I'm damaged, this went from gray to, you can see now it's a gold rim around it. So I'm going to press 1, activate the ability, and look at that. Another status effect is put on our champion. Like I said, all these are gonna change very rapidly. And then we have your trinket, which is by default bound to the 4 key. I will go over the different types of trinkets that you can have in another game. You have your B, which if you press, you will start channeling the recall spell, which takes 6 seconds, and once it's finished, it will head you back to base where you spawned from. Here we have a camera setting toggle. So if you don't have it, this is like unlocked. Your camera will not follow your champion. But if you click it, now it's locked and the camera does follow your champion. So then we have the option screen, just another way to open the settings. You can do that by pressing escape. I would never use this button here. I will talk about pings in another video, but don't click the button thing. And finally, the mini-map itself is just a representation of the map that you're walking on. See, the white box is where the camera is centered over, and if you pan by having an unlocked camera and the edges, you'll see that panning. You can zoom in. I wouldn't recommend zooming in because you get less information, but you can zoom in on things by scrolling your mouse wheel. See, that box gets smaller because it's covering a smaller area of the map. So yeah, that is everything to do with the interface, and I hope you found this video helpful, and thanks for watching.